Hey, thank you so much for checking out the video. This is Sho, and I want to say that I really don't like card-based games. So why am I doing a video on card-based tactical RPGs, right? Now, I mean, the thing is I do like card games a lot. In fact, I have played Magic the Gathering since I was in the 3rd grade, and more recently, especially with my kids, I'm actually playing a lot of the Pokemon trading card game. So I'm very much into trading card games, but when it's done as a gameplay mechanic for a strategy or a tactical RPG, there's just something about it that really gets me kind of, But in any case, what I wanted to do is highlight 5 card-based tactical RPGs or 5 card-based strategy games you can get on the Switch today that, for me, didn't really feel as bad. So yeah, I wanted to share some of my thoughts for them. Also, I do want to get this out of the way now. I am fully aware that Slay the Spire is probably one of the greatest games ever created in the past decade or so, and I have never played it, so it's not actually going to be on this list. I do apologize for that. I know a lot of people like Slay the Spire, but as for keeping to my recommendations, I'm only going to put things in my videos that I have actually played. So, sorry folks, no Slay the Spire. In any case, let's take a look at 5 other card-based tactical RPGs that you might like if you don't really like card-based tactical RPGs. Now, coming in our first slot, we have a game that really piqued my curiosity when I first saw it, but I'm going to be honest, it's not at the top of my list of favorite games for a few reasons. It's worth a mention though, and that is Grand Guilds. Now, Grand Guilds does have its flaws, but it is a nice sort of entry-level game with some sharp curves. In any case, you're going to be in control of a group of heroes, and you're going to be on a journey in a fantasy land to uncover the dark truth of an assassination of your queen. In terms of the visuals and the aesthetic, it's really beautiful and colorful, and the audio really works well for it. The story itself is fine, but I do admit that it does feel quite amateur at times in terms of its presentation. The combat system is probably where the most interesting things happen. It's fairly easy to pick up and fairly straightforward, as many people are going to be familiar with cards as the basis for your actions. But I do admit it does get quite tricky fairly quickly. I rhymed that. Honestly, it's not a bad game to give it a try, especially if you grab it on a discount. So if you're looking for something new you haven't really tried out yet and the price is sounding good, check out Grand Guilds. You might be surprised with it. Coming in at number 2, we have pretty much anything that's released in the Voice of Cards franchise. Now, if you want to prepare for Nier Automata, this really isn't a bad way to do so. These games have been produced and created by Yoko Taro, so by starting with this game, you can get a pretty good feel for his unique storytelling approach and his really excellent humor. Honestly, the game itself is very beautiful with an amazing aesthetic and art design with excellent audio direction. So honestly, it's just a beautiful thing to watch, especially when you have a card game and the cards need to look good. I wish I can get these cards in real life because they are beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. The combat system itself is pretty straightforward with some good amount of customization and some strategy involved to make things going your way. It's nothing too complicated in my opinion, but it's just enough to make it fun, challenging, but not so much taxing. Now, just to let you know, I am showing off the Isle Dragon Roars, which is the original one here, but I would probably suggest picking up the Forsaken Maiden if you have it, because it seems like many aspects have been improved off of the original. So I would go for that one, not to mention I kind of like the design of the characters a bit more. In number 3, we have, I would probably consider to be my favorite of these games, and an absolute hidden gem that I talked about for my April Fool's video on the best waifus in strategy, and that is Neoverse. Now, Neoverse is, in my opinion at least, an excellent card-based roguelike that actually has been compared to Slay the Spire as essentially a watered-down version of it. With that said though, I do find Neoverse to be extremely user-friendly and just having a very strangely addicting gameplay loop. You have 3 characters that you'll be able to choose from. basically a spy assassin, a summoner, and a paladin. Each of them have up to 3 or 4 different variations of cards that have different builds and styles you can mix together. So you have a lot of deck customization. There is a lot of nice unlockables like extra costumes or special items that will make your subsequent playthroughs a little bit easier or a little bit more tricky or a little bit more unique. Honestly, this game just kind of keeps on giving, even though it's such a simple loop. Now, this is actually a game I would like to give its own proper video in the future about, but do know that this is a hidden gem on the Switch. In number 4, we have, I guess, quite an older release. I think this goes way back to like 2015 or 2016, but it does come up in conversations a lot due to its hybrid nature and the fact that it squares right in with card-based tactical roguelike games, and that is Children of the Zodiarcs. Now, this basically has you with a group of, I guess, orphans, I think they are, and you'll be kind of guiding them through this steampunk fantasy setting to kind of understand the truth of what's going on and the power of these mystical artifacts. What makes it very unique is the hybridization of its gameplay that uses cards and dice within the system. In general, you'll have the typical card as showing off your ability, like, you know, hit him with the rod or point him with the pointy stick. But every time you use your ability, you'll have to roll dice, and the dice, depending on what kind you're using, will adjust the damage output or defensive resistances you'll get from counterattacks. Therefore, you need to be extremely strategic in your deck building and your dice making / equipping to have luck work out for you just a little bit more and to maximize the potential for your offense and defense. Really, this is probably going to be considered a classic card-based tactical RPG, and if you haven't already checked it out, it's fairly inexpensive and generally goes on sale a lot, so do check out Children of the Zodiarcs. Okay, so this is definitely going to be a cop-out. I'm sorry, but we're going to bring in Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist as our number 5 slot here. Now, okay, yes, this is a literal card game, but I mean, this is pretty much, if not the best Yu-Gi-Oh! Game out there, especially if you're a fan of the trading card game. Now, again, I mentioned earlier, but I played a little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh! When I was younger. Again, though, I mostly kept the Magic and then more recently Pokemon. But if you are a fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! Games, or if you're interested in learning a bit about it, this is definitely a great game to jump into. With this game, you will go through the original anime and storylines with nearly every available card accessible to you, at least up until around the 2018-2019 range when this game came out. So you will be able to experience the Yu-Gi-Oh! Story, which gives you that, you know, RPG aspect of it, and you'll be able to have immense, really good card-based battles in there. Now, if you are looking for just focusing more on the card game aspect of itself, or you just want to kind of have a new card game deck builder to play, Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel is also available on the Switch, and it actually is a really good game with obviously more updated cards and new cards coming out over time. So if you're interested in checking that out, I also recommend Master Duel. All right, and there you have it. We have 5 card-based strategy games available on the Switch. Some of these are actual literal card games, some of these are RPG-based, and some of these are more roguelike, but they all use cards, and they all are games that, honestly, for me, weren't all that bad, especially coming from someone who is not really a fan of digital card games. So definitely check out some of these. Again, I highly recommend the Voice of Cards series from Yoko Taro because it is absolutely hysterical. Neoverse is a really good clone / watered down version of Slay the Spire. It's just a bit more Korean anime, if that makes sense. And Children of the Zodiacs, if you haven't checked it out, is basically a classic within the genre. So those are 3 solid pickups from this I would give to you all. With that said, thank you so much for checking out the video. If you want to help support the channel, please be sure to subscribe, leave a like, and let me know down below if you have any recommendations for me to play any card-based tactical games, because again, I'm not a big fan, but if you have a good recommendation, I'm willing to give it a try because I always like getting recommendations from gamers. With that said, thank you for sending your love through dropping comments, likes, and subscribes. This is Show, and I will catch you next time. Cheers!